Hi, welcome to yet another episode of A Story for Your Query. Today, I shall be talking about a technique that would help you in self study. This should move students away from tuitions and make them independent learners. Particularly since exams are approaching, this technique should help you to study on your own. But I need to tell you a story first. Here we go. Once there lived two neighbors who used to grow the same plant in their respective garden. One neighbor was fussy, and the other one did not fuss over the plants. Now, one night there was a huge storm, accompanied by a heavy rainfall. Storm destroyed many plants. Next morning, when the fussy neighbor woke up, she found that the plants had all been uprooted and destroyed. However, the more relaxed neighbor, when she saw that her plants were firmly rooted in the soil, having weathered the storm. How did this happen? Answer is very simple. The plant of the relaxed neighbor had learned to do things on its own. So it had done a bit of work, grown deep roots, and made a place for itself in the soil. Thus, it withstood the storm. However, the fussy neighbor used to do everything for the plant, and thereby it did not help the plant to sustain on its own. The same is true of our students. Parents who hover over their children will not let them become independent. Let them study by themselves. Move from rote learning to learning with understanding. Which are the skills that the independent thinker needs to develop? Cognitive skills, such as the ability to solve problems, hypothesize, indulge in higher order thinking. Metacognitive skills, which deal with the process of learning per se. Which technique helps you to learn better? Which subject appeals to you? And so on. Students should be able to reflect on what they've done, monitor their progress, and use self-assessment in order to take responsibility for their own learning. Finally, they also need to have a very important attribute in relation to independent learning, which is the motivation. It has been found that students do not know the technique of self-study. Very often, they read the text like we read the newspaper, and just as we forget the piece of news that we have just read, they forget the topic learned. As one moves up to higher classes, there is all the more need to master the technique of self-study. Francis Pleasant Robinson was a prominent educational psychologist. He taught both college students and the military personnel how to learn from textbooks. One such technique is called the SQ4R method. SQ4R is a reading comprehension method named for its 6 steps. SQ4R is an acronym that stands for Survey, Question, Read, Recall, Record, and Review. Let us look at the 6 steps. First step is the survey. Quickly read through the entire content which is in front of you. This is high-speed reading. Look at the titles, subtitles, illustrations, charts, lead sentences, summaries, chapter questions if any. I don't think I've left out anything here. You need to read practically everything. But you do not have to read every single word of content at this stage. Second step is the question. Generate questions that you think your teacher will ask either in class or in the test. Turn the headings, subheadings into questions by asking who, what, when, where, why, and how. You may look at the questions given at the end of the lessons also and modify them as per your need. Now we come to the 4 R's. They are read, recall, record, and review. Let's look at the read. Read and reread if necessary. Read the answers to the questions that you have generated while surveying. Specifically look for answers in the titles, subtitles, and the sentences. Step and look up unfamiliar words. Stop and think about these ideas. Next, recall. close the textbook and answer the question you created in your own words. If you can't answer the question, reread the section till you are able to answer the question. If this doesn't help, then your choice may be to rephrase your own question. The next step is record your notes. Once you have understood the material, you summarize it in your own words and make a record of it. Better still, for each of the question, you can recall the answer, record it, either by marking it in the text or by highlighting it or writing it down. I would prefer writing it down in point form. Whichever method you use, it is critical to read and understand the material first, and then go back and record. The last step is the review. Here is a regular review period, which is an effective strategy for obtaining information. Usually, this can be done once a week. In the beginning, it might appear that there is a lot of work that you need to do. The volume of material will only increase, it cannot decrease. But as the semester progresses, the amount of time that you need to review goes down because you would have done it over and over and over again. Finally, why should you learn this technique at all? It helps you to strengthen your comprehension, and it retains the information because you've done the whole process by yourself, connects the information to the previous knowledge. So let's quickly recap. What is it that you need to do? First, you need to read. Read quickly, speed reading, which is called the survey. Second, turn the headings, subheadings, the main paragraphs, and the highlighted points into questions. The text that you have in front of you, you will read it, keeping the questions in perspective. Then you will close the book and you will recall the answers. After that, you will record the answers in your own words. Lastly, you will review it, preferably every week. I expect this is something you will do and learn for your examination. Any queries, do write. Voice messages are also welcome. That's all for today. See you next Wednesday.